guys, we were doing a little bit of maintenance on our bunny hutches and moving around some feeders, and we figured what better time to do our series episode on bunny housing. We're going to go through that and just kind of explain what we do.
Yeah, how we house them, and I guess why we do it the way we do. This is our original cage design that we liked a lot. It's just wire shelving. Very, very robust, very, very sturdy. What we basically found when we moved, and this is kind of the potential con of bunnies if you're going just the cage route versus the hutches, you still need cover. You still need to put them in something. And even though our farm came with an amazingly nice, big, huge barn, we kind of looked at it like that space is a little better used for some of the larger animals we have to make it a little easier to do them. These have inch spacing in the bars, and then we had, you can see, I'll open it up. We basically turn them, because each one of these has a little lip. See, like right there? We turn the lips so that the board sat on top of that. It's great to have a couple of these on hand, at least for us, because everything's outside. If we want to clean a bunny cage out, or sorting
girls, boys, and
yeah, when you're sorting young ones.
So the biggest negative to that cage design for us was they only had a 16-inch height. We were basically using the shelf width as our sides, so we only had 16 inches. And as Chris said, for your grow-out little bunnies, that was fine, but it did not work for our breeding age and bucks. It also was not an ideal size and shape for a breeding pen.
We did actually in our old barn have them stacked. So
yeah, we did 2 shelves of them, which was great. Then that way you got maximized your space, I guess. That's one thing we find with the hutches. Now that we're at a place with space, we could do that. But at our old place, we never could have allocated the space for 13 big hutches plus grow-outs. So it just depends on what you have available to you, and that goes back again to our video about choosing breeds. Certain breeds require more space to do better, so that's another thing to consider when you get down into the fine tuning of your selection.
So this is sort of a tractor design, very small tractor, but a tractor design nonetheless that we had used. It allowed us easy access, or relatively easy access, but it provided some protection from the elements, but also predators, principally raccoons. That was one of the real big downsides to tractoring the rabbits. These tractors were a lot more work.
Yes. Well, and without the bottoms, we should clarify, they do work as a tractor. You need to move this every hour. Maybe 2, depending on how thick your grass is, to prevent them digging, basically. Moving them across your front lawn or something like that, you want to be able to move them. So if you're at home and you just have them out for a little while, that's great, and it works perfect. But to leave them in it at their own devices for any length of time, it did not work.
The other downside to these was weather. In the middle of the summer, they were pretty good when the grass is, I shouldn't say middle of the summer, but in the summer when the grass is growing well and you're getting rain, but you're not getting torrential downpours, they're quite good. But as soon as the weather turns, and for us that's usually like end of October or sometime in November, yeah, these basically have to be shelved and the rabbits had to come inside. We don't dislike these, they just aren't the best option for us right now, which will kind of bring us to our next, which is sort of our preferred housing at the moment. This is the design, I guess the most versatile design that we've come up with that we like the most, and there's a few reasons for that. So I never remember the sizes, but these cages are
2 foot by 4.5 feet, so they're 24 by 54 and 22 high.
2 big things. The one is the height. In our older cages, which we showed earlier, we found for younger rabbits they were good, but for the older rabbits they didn't offer enough height, and we actually found that as they got older, their back end's deteriorated. It's kind of like an exercise thing. So this height allows the rabbit to pretty much stand right up if they want to, and we've really noticed an improvement in the growth. To make them cleanable, we basically came up with using similar wire shelves, but instead of inch spacing between the bars of the shelf, this is 1/2 inch. They seem really comfortable with it, and we've had no foot problems. They allow pretty much everything to drop through, and they are plastic coated, which is really nice. I mean, even the young rabbits seem really well. And like I say, we've noticed an improvement on this design, just the overall condition of the rabbit, long-term living in these hutches, seems a lot better, which is a pretty big positive. Each one of these is basically designed for either a buck. I mean, you probably could go a little smaller with a buck, but we've just been building them the same size so that you could use it for whatever, or a doe. And depending on the litter size, I mean, if they only have 4 babies, they can stay in these with their babies pretty much right up to weaning age. It seems to do fine, and then even afterwards, those 4 babies grow out completely fine in a hutch of this size. If we have bigger litters, and we'll show that in a minute.
Just coming to see you.
Little one coming to see. We have bigger litters. We definitely need more space, but this is a pretty good good compromise. But yeah, they're ultra portable, and we even on the sides, I don't know if you can see it too well.
Yeah.
We've got a little bar that makes lifting them a bit higher. I forget how far that down is.
That's 12 inches.
So we've put that 2x4 across at the 12 inches. There's one on either side.
It's a handle, basically.
Yeah, it's basically a handle to make it a lot easier to lift it, and we find that makes a huge difference. The roof is kind of something
The only part that's in question at this point. We haven't come up with a good roof design idea.
It works, but it's probably not ideal.
It would need replacing a lot sooner than the rest of any parts of the hutch.
Yeah, but to keep it light, this is what we've got for now. This is something we'll probably improve on in the future.
All right, so right now we're looking at the inside of Tulip's hutch here. The one thing that we do like about this design and the flooring is ventilation. I mean, even in the heat of the summer, these bunnies seem to have no problem. A little bit of shade and they seem good to go. We do offer the tile resting board as well as a wooden one. Allows them to pick and choose. Sometimes they do chew that wooden board, but it just seems to be, depends on the rabbit.
Something we've found with the tile really seems to depend on the rabbit. We have a few that actually oftentimes, even in the heat of the day, prefer to just lay right out on the wire, which
they're getting airflow that way, right?
Yeah, so they like we mentioned before, they seem very comfortable.
And it's plenty,
in these hutches.
Like this, seeing the inside now gives you a better idea of height. I mean, Tulip is a 10-pound rabbit, and you know, she's got plenty of space.
One thing we also find with the plywood sort of back and sides, the one important thing is to make sure you get, it doesn't have to be perfect, but make sure you get your seams pretty tight so that basically in here, there's no way for them to really get their teeth in there and chew on it.
What else? All of them have litter boxes in them.
Yeah, this is a bad example because she's kind of getting the hand-me-down litter box. We use these rubber bins, and although it is a little bit of extra work, we like the litter because obviously with the cage with the hutch floor out of the wire, especially for the baby bunnies who maybe haven't figured out the litter just yet, everything falls through really nicely. But most of our rabbits, I think actually right now all of our rabbits are litter trained. We've in the past had some that aren't. You can see they get a lot of greens, and we do give them like sticks, little nice young branches and stuff to chew on too. So, and yes, a lot of greens. Well, we'll talk about that more in an upcoming video. But basically, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it.
Oh, the other thing we should talk about, since we've got Tulip here,
Oh, the nest boxes.
is our nest boxes. Again, we put them right into the hutch. They just sit in. They do have a wood bottom that can go in them, and it works great. As you can see, spacing wise, that hutch is plenty big enough to have nest box in there and still have plenty of space. We do like this. This is not a TSC
I believe so.
chicken box or chicken
Nest box.
And the bunnies quite like it because it's almost like a little, what do they call that, an escape spot. The females, the mums, hop up here to get away from their bunnies when they're getting a little bit tired of it.
But anyways, that's basically our setup for these sort of standard sized, as you can see there, she is stretched out. Obviously we have to make sure we keep the lid on because they can climb out. But
we do have escapees every now and then.
Yeah, it happens. We'll go and take a look at, I guess, our final cage or hutch design, which is our bigger grow out one that we built this year, and have plans to build a second here shortly.
So this is one of our grow out hutches. This is kind of a new step for us. This is our first year having the outdoor grow outs. It is 20 inches wide by the full 8 feet long. Right now we currently have 8 bunnies in there, and we are finding it's still not big enough. So we're coming up with some other plans on that, and obviously ideas and suggestions, greatly appreciated. But I'm sure we'll come back to that with another video later with what we changed our mind to. Ideally, I think this would be a great grow out for about 6 rabbits. Saying that these ones are pretty much butcher size. So this one in particular, because we wanted the full 8 feet length, the shelf bottom only came in the 16 inches wide. So that's why we've gone a little narrower from the usual 2 feet. Same design, just yeah, the shelf was a bit narrower. So, you go. No, you.
So, I guess one last thing about the rabbits and our hutches would be placement of them. They're very versatile. You can move them anywhere you want, but we do find, kind of depending on the season, there's a few things to consider. So winter is probably a little less finicky actually than summer,
which is surprising. Most people would think the other way.
Opposite. We still do try to place them so they're not in like the direct wind or facing. Usually we face them south so that they do get some sun. They usually seem to appreciate that,
especially in the winter.
Colder. Yeah. But otherwise, that's kind of it. Not in direct prevailing wind, and usually face them south. Mm-hmm. In the summer, however, shade's important. They're
under some trees.
Yeah, they're under the shade of a pretty large maple tree. Kind of keeps them, what do they call that? Deep shade, I think is the term for it.
This was just a rather lengthy video, just sharing our experiences and what we've worked. There are many other options out there. There's other YouTube videos that show some different methods. This is just what we have found works for us best for what we've tried. Again, it's it might not be the cheapest method. It may be the most space efficient method, but this is what works best for our bunnies to get good quality meat in the simplest manner.
And they don't require an extra building. So they kind of, which goes with the versatile, they're kind of a self-contained unit, which, like you say, the cost per hutch is greater than, say, just normal rabbit cages. But for us, not having to use valuable barn space for the rabbits and still being able to have the rabbits, that's worth a lot.
So we'll be doing an upcoming, it's not going to be part of this series, but we are going to do a video in the nearish future because we have to build a couple more hutches with our design and just all the specs and what goes into the process, just in case anybody's interested and wants to give it a try. And maybe we'll even do a breakdown of cost for us here in Canada to get all the products that you need to build the hutch. Anyways, hope you've enjoyed this video and found it somewhat helpful. Definitely click the subscribe button to see the rest of our series. And we hope you have a great day. And we're going to get on to the next thing here.